When it comes to Epic Universe, it seems that we are in a bit of a lull at the moment as we've had most, if not all, of the land preview announcements that will be coming from Universal about Epic Universe and the things that will be involved in it. We also are still waiting on an opening date timeline, and we haven't really heard anything from Universal in the past week and a half to 2 weeks here. But what we did hear from Universal is a sweepstakes that they're doing. But in the details of the sweepstakes, there could be a little bit of a breadcrumb in terms of maybe when an opening date or time period for Epic Universe may be. So we're going to take a look at the sweepstakes, talk about that, and then look at what we might be looking at for an opening date timeline. So over here at epicuniversesweepstakes.com, it's just a very simple landing page here. And where this originated from was the Epic Universe Preview Center. There's a placard, which we can see here in this article right here, that's set up. So this is the Preview Center here, and then in front of it is this placard here. It talks about, it says opening day, but you scan the QR code and it's an opening sweepstakes is where this originally stemmed from. But so we're going to read through this real quick and then see what we might glean about an opening day timeline. So it says enter for your chance to win a trip for you and up to 3 guests to Universal Orlando Resort, where you can explore 5 worlds beyond anything you have experienced before at the all-new Universal Epic Universe theme park. Plus, you'll stay close to the action at Universal Helios Grand Hotel. That's pretty cool to be able to stay there. You can win a 5-night trip for 4 people, including a round-trip airfare to Orlando, Florida, ground transportation between the airport and hotel in Orlando, accommodations at Universal Helios Grand Hotel, and again, an admission to Epic Universe, plus a 3-park, 4-day park-to-park ticket. So here's the interesting thing. But what's very interesting here is and it's hard to see this. I'm going to zoom in on this so we can get a better look at it. But in the fine print down here, it says no purchase necessary to win or enter. Void in Alaska, Hawaii, blah, blah, blah. Sweepstakes begin June 14th of 2024, which is kind of interesting there. But it ends June 30th, 2025. So looking at this and potentially, now this doesn't mean this is necessarily going to be the opening date, but it does lend itself. It is the summer of 2025. That could be just when this sweepstakes ends. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is the timeline for Epic Universe to open, but it also could be the timeline for it, because originally Universal was using the verbiage opening in the summer of 2025 until recent months. On some of the videos that they released, they were just saying in 2025, which led many people like myself to believe it'd be opening in the early part of 2025. And not only that, we had people like Steve Tatham, who is the Epic Universe creative director of the entire park, had gone on a podcast, which we have a video talking about this, saying that the park is going to open in the early part of 2025 before the summer. But since then, we've heard some rumblings that there might be some delays. Lynn Testa had talked about how he was hearing from people that there is a land that is behind in the construction process, and it could delay it. It may not be ready until the fall of 2025. So they may be looking at a later than they anticipated opening date, which would probably be the summer. But, it's hard to know. Looking at the construction progress, my guess would be on a land that's behind a maybe Super Nintendo World, Celestial Park. It's hard to know what's true and what's not. But the fact that we haven't heard anything yet for an opening date is a little bit, I think it lends some credence to this being a bit delayed in terms of not opening the early part of 2025, like I think a lot of people had anticipated, because I sort of figured all along around Disney's D23, which was in August, that Universal would have come out right after then and had an opening date for Epic Universe and really stole that thunder, or whatever thunder Disney had coming out of D23 with their announcements. But since we haven't heard anything there, we're well into September. We still haven't heard anything. I kind of lean toward the fact that the delay or the land being behind could be true. I do think we'll hear something about an opening date before the holidays, just because typically, when people are talking about planning a trip for next year, they do that around the holidays. So I would assume we would hear something closer, maybe later this month, October. But I would be a little surprised we got into November and hadn't heard anything yet, simply because they're going to want people to be talking about, hey, let's take a trip and let's go to this new theme park, next summer or something like that. So this doesn't really answer any questions. It does bring up potential questions. So I think in terms of the date on the sweepstakes, it may answer the question. It'll be open around that time, which we're talking about June 30th of 2025. The assumption would be that is it would be open around that time, or the July timeframe. So that, I suppose, is the farthest end date we're looking at for an opening timeline. It doesn't answer if it's going to open earlier. When they're running a sweepstakes like this is to, build anticipation, get people excited for it. And then whoever they bring out for this, I'm sure they'll have a film crew with them and they'll be able to, detail it or talk about their experience with it, how much they loved it and stuff like that. So this doesn't necessarily mean that it won't open earlier. It definitely means that this probably is the latest we're looking at it opening is around the June, July time area. And because really, even if it does open earlier, Universal is going to do a lot of marketing efforts to really push this for the summer of 2025 being like when it's really open and available. So I suppose if it's going to open earlier, a lot of it's going to be dependent upon if there is a land behind how the construction progresses over the next few months. Hopefully there's no damages from like say hurricanes. It is hurricane season right now in Florida. It's been raining a whole lot, so that's probably delayed construction a bit. But of course, Universal hasn't come out and said anything, so this is all just speculation and looking at the sweepstakes. Although this does give us a time period here, it's still just speculation. But I suppose at the very least, at least to me, this means that Epic Universe, would open by June, July of next year. And if that happens, I would love it to open earlier, but I'm not really going to be, I guess I wouldn't be super disappointed because I've had in my mind summer of 2025 since they had been saying that for the longest time. But I am hopeful still that this park will open earlier in 2025 because again, we do have the hotels, the Stella Nova and the Terra Luna hotels that are opening before. Plus, we have, I'm sure, and everything I'm hearing, they're going to do AP preview. So even if the opening date is June, July of 2025, and everything I've been hearing would be multiple months of AP previews. We could be looking at April and May for AP previews if this date timeline is accurate. April, May for AP previews, and then opening in June or July area like that. So that timeline does make some sense there. Again, I do hope it opens earlier, but for now, at least you can enter this contest or the sweepstakes to be able to win a free trip to Epic Universe in Universal Studios. So take advantage of that. Enter. Hopefully, somebody that on the here that's watching this wins. And I suppose we can just speculate on a potential opening date, given this information and stuff we've heard before about when this park may open until Universal comes out and says something one way or the other. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Epic Universe, Universal Studios, Disney World, and pop culture. Let us know in the comments, do you think the dates on these sweepstakes here mean anything in terms of an opening date for Epic Universe, or do you still think it could open in the early part of 2025? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.